Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank the rector of Ca' Foscari University, Professor Carraro. As you know, it is always a great pleasure for me to come to Venice. I like the city of Venice, or I like coming here, and I like the University of Venice most especially. This university, over the past few years, showed that through responsible independence and autonomy, university may change as well as its relationship with the local area where it is placed and with a social and economic fabric. I'd like to thank Professor Versi Monaco as well, who was the rector when I was a student at the Bologna University. So I'd like to say that I'm very close to him. I'd like to thank also Professor Fantoni and Professor Camelli, whom I can't see at the moment. He's hiding somewhere. And for many years, we've shared the same idea, i.e. attaching great importance to the potential for school universities to place our students. Indeed, we don't have to have different departments in our universities. We believe that there should be a liquid behavior, a flexible behavior, a very elastic behavior between the labor market and the university, so that each requirement on the side of the labor market is transformed into special ad hoc curricula in the university. AlmaLaurea was very good and has done a very precious body in creating facts and making such facts public, developing a new culture, a culture that was certainly not natural in Italy. Through this culture, in Italy, we finally have the tools to follow the labor market. We know that the labor market is growing increasingly European, and we have to find a way to guide our students before they graduate so that they can gather information as to the jobs available, so that they have hard facts when they choose their curriculum. I'm not going to talk about the report as published by AlmaLaurea because this is going to be very much the subject of Professor Gamelli's presentation, but if I may, I would like to comment briefly this liquid relationship that should exist between school, training institutions, education, and universities, and the labor markets. In Italy, we don't have a long-standing tradition in terms of managing changes between lower education and higher education, between the end of secondary education and application to university, and from the end of university to the access to the labor market. Well, those are very critical times in the lives of everybody, because we all tend to remain confined to what we were just the day before, and we can't actually see ahead of us and understand what we are to be. In many other countries, there is a great investment in managing these times of change. Such times are usually guided by what is, again, orientational guidance, which is not just advertising, but the administration of all information to students, so that they can make decisions that are compliant with their requirement, that are consistent with their requirements, and with what their inclinations may be, based also on future prospects to find a job. And this is all very complicated. Just think that this year, for example, students that enrolled in 2007 are finally getting their degree, and the world, when they entered the university, was completely different. So basically, students are to be equipped with tools that may enable them to make the right decision ahead of time. I believe that our country should get equipped and find these tools to support students. And what AlmaLaurea has been doing over the past years has been all important. Indeed, we all know what guidance is, and nearly all schools, but not all of them, have started very positive paths to provide guidance to students. We still haven't achieved a stable and consistent model. And I believe there are two things that we should always consider, i.e., when guidance is administered, for example. And it is pretty strange. We always do things at the very last minute. In Italy, nobody's ever patient. And I believe that the word that we should learn is being patient. Being patient implies that you have to go through guidance and start that not just at the end of your secondary school before you apply to you start with the application. You have to start ahead of time. You have to start at least a year ahead of time. Because it takes a long time to become fully aware of what you want to become or what your decisions may bring about as results. So we have to be patient. Investments are required for guidance, both in terms of culture and in terms of investments on the side of all the actors, of all the players, of all the stakeholders. And I believe that students that are already enrolled in some university should be the first players, and also students that are about to have access to the labour market, because they share the same language with younger students, and they really have the possibility to shift, to transfer, to share with their younger students their experience. So we should focus on students at the end of their career, and I believe that a very precious process has been triggered thanks to AlmaLaurea. Another important player are delegates coming from the labour market. Indeed, students who just graduated, students that are about to graduate, still do not know exactly what is required to have access to a certain job based on a certain education background. Many of us do not have a practical approach in understanding how their knowledge can be transformed into a job. It is only people already in the labour market that can provide guidance. It is only them who can create new opportunities for our young students. Having the possibility to visit an institution, a practice of any professional, to understand what the job that they are thinking about actually is. And then another important player that should be involved are institutions. Those institutions that basically put together all the bureaucracy that the students should go through before having access to the labour market. You have to value not just the expertise and knowledge of people, but the commitment, because sometimes people may know a lot but not be fully committed. So I think that what we should do for young students is to be better skilled in stimulating their commitment and in fully exploiting their potential. And we understand that there should be an investment for that. I don't think this process comes to an end as soon as you apply for a certain university, as soon as you make up your mind and make a decision. And I'd like to quote an example. Over the past few years, we've witnessed a diversification. If you look at certain curricula, look, for example, at the engineering curriculum. Right from the beginning, year one, a certain process has been identified so that, for example, exams in chemistry or analysis were very different in different faculties. And I think this actually is not necessary. I think this is not what it should be, because I believe that when you start studying a certain subject during the first year, you should always be able to shift around between the different curricula. So when you make a preliminary decision, you have to be flexible enough to be able to move and shift around between the different curricula. So I think there should be 1 year, the first year, where exams are passed by all students with a definition of the curriculum being opted for at a later stage. So I think that we have to have a better matching between expectations and opportunities. At present, there are some 21–24% of our students that basically abandon university during the first year. And I believe that this great number of students basically that are lost is due to the fact that the decision they had originally made was not supported by adequate research and investigation. So basically they chose the wrong curriculum. What is most important is to have access to hard facts as to requirements as coming from the labor markets and skills and desires as expressed by the students. You know that on a yearly basis there are as many as 25,000 graduates that sometimes take the wrong graduates, whereas there are 25,000 graduates that are missing in other professions. So basically the link that we're talking about has not been established. Obviously, we have to leave everybody free to decide what they want, but they have to make a decision based on facts. So they have to know what kind of graduates are required by the labor market. And AlmaLaurea has been extremely beneficial in providing students with those tools, i.e. in helping students opt for a curriculum which is consistent with the requirements as coming from the labor market. There's a second subject I'd like to dwell on for a minute. Going back to what Professor Carraro just said, we know that in Italian university, especially during the time, again, of guidance, we've been saying that our universities were very good in training best lawyers, good medical doctors, good architects, good engineers, and so on and so forth. But there's another message that has to be conveyed, i.e. that our universities may provide the basis for young students wishing not so much to find a job, but to create jobs for themselves and for their fellows, and to start businesses. I'd like to thank the rector of Venice University, Professor Carraro, for referring to that, because this is something that has been neglected by most Italian universities. Whereas I believe that this is key. A country with a limited number of companies should learn to start more businesses. Many of such companies are too long-lived, and they are not as good in being aggressive and competitive enough in terms of innovation being key for the development of any country, and countries such as Italy most specifically, with a very elderly population, very little energy sources in itself. So What can the Ministry for Education and University do, considering that the university system is certainly fully independent, and we hope it is also fully responsible? Well, by means of a 3-year plan, the Italian ministry can identify a number of priorities. And I'd like to make an additional comment now. I believe that in the next few years, what we'll see is that money, funds being made available by the ministry and conveyed to universities should be based on 3 more drivers. One is training for professors, which we believe we should be opted for by means of standard courses, in that we should basically understand that there's a difference between a university, for example, a degree in medicine and a degree in psychology, so that funds given to universities should be based on the real costs that university are to support. A second important element of our 3-year plan should be as follows. Research and education should be actually measured. And there is a national agency that was set up for that purpose, so that university basically should compete and contribute the best in terms of research carried out by their professors and students, so that a certain amount of the funds being granted to them, something in the range of the 20%, is going to be based on the results as achieved by universities in terms of educational results and research results as well. There's a third bullet on that we should consider as most important. Universities are going to be asked to plan their work so as to be able to match again the requirements as measured by international relations and by the requirements that's coming from the labor market. And I believe that through this 3-year plan, a virtuous process may be triggered. Indeed, I believe that one top priority should be guidance, closely related to the labor market. So we should basically link together universities who are going to funnel their best research potentials so as to be better organized in putting together an adequate reaction to the need and requirements as measured by the labour market, so that basically to guide our students toward that direction. Thank you very much, and I wish the proceedings every success.